by far, this is the biggest hype that they're trying to build up. But then when it comes to real world implementation, it's a totally different story. I think the strength of a model definitely also depends on the depth of its context level. The tool to be used across the board. You hype it up as much as you can and you release it to the public and you hope that it can perform. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Radio here, and we are back with another video. I don't know if you guys follow AI news, but Anthropic has been teasing their new AI model, Claude Mythos. Supposedly, it's so powerful, not a lot of people can even access it. And they claim it's the biggest leap forward they had yet. So I try to put together a little presentation, a little slide deck, so we can go through what Claude Mythos is. And then we're gonna watch a video by NBC that's gonna kind of go over the hype and kind of go over some of the other details. Here we go. Claude Mythos. What is it? Claude Mythos is a new AI model from Anthropic. Think of it as the next generation of Claude. Anthropic is calling it a major leap beyond their previous best model, Claude Opus 4.6, where most AI models are good at one or two things. Mythos is designed to be strong across the board: coding, math, reasoning, reading long documents, understanding images, and working through complex multi step tasks. It's not available to the general public yet. Anthropic is keeping access limited, which itself tells you something about how powerful they believe it is. Which is I think that's an interesting strategy from Anthropic. Usually they leak the capabilities of their models first, they build hype around it, and they slowly roll it out. With this one, this is the same strategy that they've been doing, but just times 10. The hype is times 10, the slowness is times 10, everything's times 10. So this by far, this is the biggest hype that they're trying to build up. Why is everyone talking about it? The headline number is 93.9 on something called SWE Bench Verified. That's a test where you hand the AI a real broken piece of software, an actual bug from a real open source project, and ask it to find the problem, edit the right files, and produce a fix that works. Mythos scored over 13 percentage points higher than the previous best Claude model on this test. To put that in perspective, this is the difference between an AI that can write code when you ask it to and an AI that can sit down with a messy real world code base and actually fix things like a working software engineer would. Mythos also scored 97.6 on the USA Mathematical Olympiad benchmark. It's the kind of proof based reasoning where you have to construct logical arguments from scratch, the type of problems that challenge gifted students. On humanity's last exam, a test designed to push AI to its limits across dozens of expert level subjects, Mythos scored 56.8 without any tools and 64.7% when allowed to use tools to help check its work. Which I think it's very interesting to me that every time it's always the same kind of tests, but then when it comes to real world implementation, it's a totally different story. And they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. And until you, the layman, get your hands on it, until the average person gets their hands on it, I personally can't verify the quality of a model or how good it is, because the model can be super technical and super good for one specific use case, but then for the use case I would need it, it just won't work. And I think we've seen that a little bit with Grok, where in the beginning Grok was scoring neck and neck with OpenAI. It was scoring with close to Sonnet levels, and I think it was a Grok 4.1, Grok 4 4.1. It was scoring high, but on actual task levels, it's just nobody takes it serious. It's not being used at that level. And I think that's one of the reasons Elon Musk wants to start over with their AI program with XAI and kind of start something else from scratch so that they can build something that's more feasible. Most AI models work like this. You ask a question, you get an answer. The conversation is over. Mythos is built to work differently. It can plan a sequence of steps, use tools like a command line or code editor, check its own results, adjust its approach, and keep going until the job is done. This is what the industry calls agentic behavior. Think of it as the difference between asking someone a question and hiring someone to complete a project. Mythos scored well on benchmarks like Terminal Bench, which tests whether the AI can navigate a computer's command line the way a real technical user would. Opening files, running commands, troubleshooting errors across multiple steps, which I think we already have some agentic models. I'm assuming this model is just at a whole different level. I think that's where the hype really is, where this model is just more confident and is acting stronger and can deliver results that are just way better than any other agentic model would. Because AI agents aren't, they're new, but they're not new. So for them to really tout the agentic behavior of Mythos, it's very interesting. Mythos also handles what's called multimodal input, which means it can process images, diagrams, and visual information alongside text. Combined with long context processing, the ability to keep track of very large amounts of information at once, like an entire code base or 200-page document. This makes Mythos useful for tasks that would overwhelm most current AI models. You could hand it a giant technical manual with diagrams, ask it a complex question that requires understanding page 12 and page 187 together, and it can hold all of that in its head at once. And I think that's one of the, if I think the strength of a model definitely also depends on the depth of its context level. And I've noticed with Claude, I don't know if the context window is smaller than most, but it always, like after a few conversations, it'll start compressing the context and it starts trying to save memory, and it has a smaller context window than something like Gemini or ChatGPT, where I've seen Claude consistently try to compress its memory and try to make sure that it can remember everything while also saving tokens as much as it can. So if they really crack the code on large context, and I mean like large context, as in context where you can have a year's worth of chat and projects and development, and you don't need to compress it or anything, that would be very impressive. Anthropic published a system card for Mythos, essentially a transparency report about the model's capabilities and risks, but they did not release it for general public use. Access has been limited to vetted cybersecurity partners and specific use cases. And I think that's part of the hype. And they're really trying to build word of mouth. How effective is this? Is this strategy? It was somewhat effective with Opus 4.6, and they delivered with Opus 4.6. I think that's one of the best models around. But at the same time, it's not. It's very good. Opus 4.6, very, very good. But you can only use Opus 4.6 for a limited amount of time every day. Your usage runs out very fast. So I think that's another hurdle Anthropic needs to clear, is that they need to open up the usage for their models, because if their models are as powerful as they claim they are, the regular person is not going to use the API and pay per token. The regular person wants to use the chat, and they want to start their projects within the chat and the UI system. I've used both. I've used the API and I've used the chat. The chat is just more convenient. I would love to have an API ready available on my phone, and I can set that up. But with the chat, everything is just right there. It's just way more convenient, and I can like build projects and just use the UI. At the same time, I definitely understand the API is the way to go if you're building any sort of project with scale. And also, uh, some of the capabilities of Claude are just for specific use cases, coding, such as building big projects and overviewing big projects and things of that nature. So Claude is so powerful. It's not really meant to be for an average person, and I think that's why the usage limit is so low. And I think that's why other AI companies actually try to get you to use their AIs more frequently, because their AI is not as powerful, but they can offset the power offset the power need with higher usage. So a lot of times I want to do something with Claude Opus specific, but I rather go to ChatGPT, hash out the idea, build a prompt, then paste it into Claude, so that within a few messages back and forth, I can have something robust and something that I can use, versus going back and forth with Claude and trying to fine tune that. oh, it's your usage is gonna run out like super fast. Claude Mythos represents a shift in what AI can do. Previous models were impressive at generating text, writing emails, and summarizing articles, answering questions. Mythos is impressive at doing work, fixing real software, solving hard math proofs, navigating computer systems, and executing multi step tasks with minimal handholding. AI is moving from impressive answers to high stakes, real world performance. Whether that's exciting or alarming depends on who's building it, who's controlling it, and what guardrails are in place. All right, let's go to our video.
If you read comics, you know about the Age of Ultron, maybe. And it was a peacekeeping AI that became so powerful, it became the threat. And I'm not going to lie, like there is some news making waves today that seems a little like sci-fi, but it is not. The AI giant Anthropic, they just announced that they have this new model so powerful that they will not be releasing it to the public. They called it Mythos, and apparently it's already found thousands of massive security flaws, what they describe as zero-day vulnerabilities in cybersecurity. That is a big deal, and it's in every major operating system, every single browser. It's the stuff that you and I are using every single day. So this is all such a reckoning that all of a sudden this is happening. And I know what you're thinking, like this is just a bunch of logos. These are some of the biggest tech companies on the planet. These are competitors, and they are being given access to Mythos for good.
I think that's very interesting. Anthropic is really positioning themselves, at least on the enterprise level and business level. They're really positioning themselves as the tool to be used across the board. And Amazon just very smart investment in Anthropic. Amazon definitely did the right thing by investing in Anthropic early on, and it paid off massively in this AI race because OpenAI could have taken the lunch, or God forbid, Elon Musk's AI would have been like the most powerful, and Anthropic would be just not being able to compete. But now Anthropic is at a level where everybody's trying to compete with them, and they always have the cutting edge. And I think that's going to be very tough to beat for whoever is trying to
use it to harden defenses. So what is going on? Why is everybody assembling in this kind of weird tech dream team? Well, joining us now is NBC's AI fellow, Jared Perlow. Jared, great to see you, and credit where credit's due. Anthropic, like they did post what they have been red teaming here publicly. They're working with these other companies on their own volition. But what does this, first of all, tell us about Mythos's capabilities right now?
So what we know about Mythos comes from Anthropic itself. So I think everything that we know about it should be taken with a certain grain of salt, because they say they can't release Mythos, technically called Claude Mythos Preview, publicly because it is so powerful. Now, I also want to flag that potentially this is a case of AI company crying wolf, crying AI model that's too powerful to release. But
we've definitely seen that. We've definitely seen that with Grok. We've definitely seen that with OpenAI. I think there's some Chinese companies definitely been hyping it up, and then just their models are just not up to par with what we want. We've definitely seen that across the board, but that's kind of the name of the game these days. Is you hype it up as much as you can, and you release it to the public, and you hope that it can perform. It's a sink or swim. Now, do the developers themselves believe these are the most powerful tools, and is it that blind confidence that they have in their own abilities and their own compute that every time they make a leap forward, they proudly say, "Okay, this is it. This is the best one," and all that. And it's just they're ignorant of everything else that's going on. Maybe it's the ignorance of some of the developers, where they just want to hype up their own product, and they don't care. They don't care about the ramifications of that hype, and they don't care whether or not it lives up to the hype or not.
From all the experts I've been talking to, it does seem like this is the real deal. So as you mentioned, this new model, Mythos Preview, has apparently discovered thousands of critical and high-risk cyber vulnerabilities, some which have never been discovered before. And one of them even goes back 27 years. This bug has been sitting in this really critical system for 27 years, and apparently Mythos has found it. So Anthropic has launched this new coalition, this consortium, as you mentioned, of leading tech companies to basically give them a head start to say, we think that we've discovered this crazy new power. We think you should be able to plug your defenses before we release this publicly, although we don't really know. Anthropic says they don't know if and when they'll ever release the full model publicly.
Yeah, what you're just describing, this teaming up and this planning for, we want to use this as defense instead of offense. It sounds like a bunch of companies, and yet missing on that list is Meta and XAI. And look, I know a lot of people may not have spent as much time on World of Warcraft as I did, but back in the day, there was this guy, Leroy Jenkins, right? And a lot of this reminds me a little bit of, everybody making a plan for defense, and then all of a sudden, you got somebody coming in and saying, Leroy Jenkins, and just running into a very difficult and dangerous situation. It did not turn out well for Leroy Jenkins or the entire raiding party. But is there a chance that we might see another big tech company come in and be like, you know what, we have a model this powerful and we are releasing it publicly?
It could be a possibility that somebody somewhere is going to come out with like the most craziest model that we ever seen, and they're going to just sweep everybody, right? But I think that also will come when the models are actually efficient with compute. They definitely will always need these big data centers that provide so much power. But I think the first model that becomes like the most efficient at utilizing that compute and utilizing that power is going to definitely have a winning edge.
I think that's a big question, and love the reference. More people need to reference it. OpenAI is probably working on a model very similar in capabilities, in power right now. I wouldn't be shocked if they release it in the coming weeks, the coming months. I think zooming out, the big takeaway here is that AI seems like it's entering a new era. The government is involved in this. All these leading tech companies are involved in this. I like to say, it's hard for me to see models becoming less intelligent, less capable from here on out. So I think that's certainly an option for all sorts of critical software systems in critical infrastructure like power grids, even airplanes, anything that really involves software.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things that's wild is when you're looking through the notes here and you're like, oh, wait, this was going on months ago. Everything that we see in the headlines that has to do with AI happened in the past. We don't know where things are right now. But a couple months ago, we also saw, while all this was going on, Anthropic fighting or disagreeing with the Pentagon over how its AI could be used for things like...
By the way, shout out Anthropic for that. Definitely, as a PR move, incredible. They definitely got the people on their side. And as a consumer, my confidence in them went up, where at least I feel good knowing that Anthropic is not working to undermine our society. Now, other AI companies, OpenAI, are working to do exactly that, and they're working with a government that has been proven to be malicious and has proven to be aggressive in their needs and wants, and just be violent at times, and kind of disregard any sort of precedent, disregard any sort of existing laws, and kind of do what they want. So working with a government like that is just dangerous. It's just dangerous, and I honestly, I salute Anthropic for just standing on what they believe in. It was a weird, tense couple of days where Pete Hegseth gave the deadline for Anthropic to respond, and then before the deadline was up, they responded, and then that was a very brave move from them.
Autonomous weapons or surveillance. The Pentagon then just boxed them out, and now we've got this. Does the Pentagon know about all this stuff? These companies that we just showed, they have contracts with the government. Where does Anthropic now fit in with the Pentagon, with defense, and what's going to happen to the industry as a whole?
Well, Gadi, I think you're asking the critical $100 trillion question right there, because basically Anthropic is saying we have this model that's too powerful to release publicly. One would hope that the government is in some way involved with this model or knows about it. So we've heard from Anthropic.
I don't hope that. Not this government. I don't hope that at all. And I hope Anthropic is being very conservative with what they give access to this government. Because it's if they have a model that's this powerful and they put it in the hands of those kind of people, I don't know. I don't think things will be working out that great.
Today, somebody at Anthropic told me that they're working with certain government agencies in the cybersecurity and infrastructure business.
That's fine.
Also with the Center for AI Standards and Innovation to basically share with them, to brief them on the capabilities of this model. But as you said, the government's actively trying to divorce itself from Anthropic. So you have this odd kind of tug of war, this odd tension. They're trying to divorce themselves, but this technology might be critical for American security or international, supremacy. So I think we're going to see where it goes. Today we saw a new ruling from a judge in D.C. that says the government can proceed potentially with divorcing itself from Anthropic. That was just a couple hours ago. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. I think it's going to play out over the next couple weeks, next couple months, but I think everybody should really buckle up and change your password.
You're curious. You're curious. I am stressed, and we will definitely be changing our password and checking back with you. Jared Perlow, thank you so very much.
We thank you for watching.
Yeah, let me know what you guys think. This is very interesting. And let me know what you guys think of the Claude Mythos power, Claude Mythos capabilities that they're hyping up, and what models do you guys use? Is it mainly Claude? Is it Open ChatGPT? Is it Gemini? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys daily drive if you use AI. Yep. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.